Okay, it's live.
Hello and welcome to the Temple Mount podcast. I'm here with Traveling Through Time. I'm Eggbased. I'm here with Traveling Through Time. Today we're going to be discussing his recent movie and upcoming sequel. How are you, Traveling Through Time?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Are we sticking with traveling?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll stick with traveling. So I've just watched your film, all 20 minutes of it, and I was very impressed. And of course, as someone who works with AI myself, I'm thinking the whole time about how difficult it must have been to prompt, and how you managed to get text to appear, and that all is very difficult to accomplish. So that was impressive. But I also took notes. So I want to talk first about, as I was just sort of hinting at, the actual production of the film. So if you want to just say sort of what it actually is, if it's a recording or a video output from some bot, and just talk about how you actually produced it to begin with.
Well, it gives you MP4s. 15-second MP4s is usually what I do. You can do 10 or 15 seconds. And then you just kind of put them in order. So I did it all out of order. And then in video editing software, I just kind of put them together in a way that told a story. And then where I felt like certain areas needed more explanation, I would generate more scenes with more prompts. And then, like, if I needed to develop the plot in other certain areas, I would just generate more prompts.
So you made, what, like 80 or 100 clips and sewed them together?
Yeah, I don't know the exact number, but it's probably close to 100.
Okay. High close danger. So how did you actually go about prompting the AI to generate these clips? Were these extensive text prompts that you put in?
So they allowed character creation. So I made like 2 or 3 characters, and I could put those characters in the scene. And sometimes it screws up the voice, and sometimes it screws up the face. But it always gets the clothing right, so you can kind of tell who's who. So, and then sometimes it screws up the lines. Actually, oftentimes it'll screw up the lines, or give the wrong lines to the wrong people, so it doesn't really make sense. And you just kind of have to delete that video and try the prompt again, which is really annoying. So it's still kind of in its infancy, all of the technology.
Yeah, there was a scene where I think Traveling is talking to Sam Altman, and Altman is speaking, and Traveling's mouth is moving, and the camera's on Traveling. So,
Yeah, it does that sometimes too.
yeah, no, I noticed that, but I don't think it really impeded the storytelling in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, yeah. If the output is bad, I just delete it and try again. So for every scene you see, I probably did like 3 prompts or 3 attempts, and then it's like got like a 30% success rate.
So this is now ballooned from 100 clips sewn into a movie to like 300 clips generated and 100 of them sewn into the film.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, how long did this take?
Like 2 weeks, I think, something like that. Pretty
Oh,
quick.
you must have been working at it pretty diligently then.
You only get like 10 videos per day, 10 video generations.
So you basically did this as fast as they would allow you to.
Yeah, I was limited by how many generations I could get per day.
Interesting. Interesting. Did you have any collaborators on it, or was it all just a solo project?
I have a super fan, a good friend of mine, a Discord friend that I collaborate a lot with. So she helped write some prompts, and she's the girl with the sunflower dress.
I was going to ask if that's the girl. That was actually the next point on my notes, is who's the girl.
Yeah, she's a friend of mine, a Discord friend.
All right. You guys known each other for a while?
Yeah, years. Yep, since like I don't know, maybe like 2020.
And now, are the voices each of yours, or are they completely artificial?
No, they're just random. Yeah.
So, if you would just briefly give sort of a synopsis of the premise, what it actually is that we're discussing.
It's basically a really tall, really fat skyscraper.
Okay, like the Tower of Babel.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, so is this kind of like the 5 minute city concept where,
Yeah, it's less than a 15-minute city. It's a 5-minute city.
okay, yeah, because that's, there was, I think, at some point a line about everything being 5 minutes away.
Yeah, on e-scooters, you can get anywhere, or a bicycle or something like that. Everything's within 5 minutes.
Right, and you said something about 15 miles an hour?
Yeah, that's the speed limit.
Okay, so how did you decide on like transport infrastructure being sort of that way? E-scooters, 15 miles an hour. Did you do some kind of math or calculation on that?
Yeah, so if you take your density, you take your persons per square mile. So let's say, for example, I think suburbia is usually about 4,000 persons per square mile. If you go up to 16,000 persons per square mile, that's a 4x increase, which means everything is the square root closer. So you take 4 and you take the square root of 4, everything's 2 times closer. If you had 9 times the density, so it would be 36,000 people per square mile, everything would be 3 times closer. Does that make sense? Because the square root of 9 is 3.
Yes.
So if you take this to its maximum conclusion with, say, I think the city is like 500,000 people per square mile or something crazy like that, it's 100 times denser than suburbia. So you take the square root of 100 and you get 10x. So everything is 10 times closer. So your 15 mile per hour commute feels like 15 times 10 or 150 miles per hour.
Yeah, that also was mentioned. 15 feels like 150.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of
Okay.
simplified the explanation, but that's where the math comes from.
So, I don't know if you know this about me, but I sold solar panels for years.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I know quite a bit about, and I didn't just sell them, like I researched and knew very much about the technology, and some of my clients were very high profile engineers, people that just couldn't be sold by my coworkers because they didn't have the wherewithal or the willingness to learn about the technology and to be able to explain it on a component level. So I know quite a bit about solar. And it's my understanding that this entire infrastructure is going to be powered primarily by solar. Is that correct?
Yeah, in the desert. We put it in the desert and then we ship the electricity through long distance power lines.
Okay. So, you familiar with NEOM?
The line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, similar?
Well, Neom is like skinny. It's not wide enough. So this is it shows in the video. It shows a picture of the Arkology from Blender. It's not AI. It shows like the Blender image, and the Blender image is 120 acres. It's like 2,200 feet by 2,200 feet. So it's a lot wider than the line. It's like a big fat tower.
Well, so geometrically dissimilar, but in terms of the concept of putting this in a desert and powering it with solar panels, we're talking
Yeah,
about something
yeah,
fairly similar.
yeah. Because photovoltaics are like such a gem, such a gift, and we want to leverage that gift as much as possible.
Right. No, I agree. My immediate concern is just the space that PV would take up.
That's why
So,
it's remote, and it's remotely generated, and then the electricity is shipped through high voltage lines.
oh, so you are talking about HV from a solar field offsite.
Yeah, the solar field is offsite. Yeah.
Okay. I'm picturing like Helios 1 um, uh,
Limits on costs and stuff. What's cool is now that AI exists, we can just ask AI a lot of these questions, and the AI actually helps a lot with like double checking math and stuff like that. I don't remember the exact amounts, but like it was like $100 million worth of batteries or something, or like $200 million worth of batteries, and I think that was for like 3 days worth of power was something that we wanted.
are you familiar with the molten salt battery concept?
I looked into it a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of potential there. I'm not sure how sustainable it is in terms of like its cycling lifetime.
It's infinite cycles, isn't it? That's why it's so attractive.
Right, but mechanically, you know what I mean? Like the wear on the system.
Yeah. Well, it's molten, so it's liquid. So like, there's no. I don't think there's any like cathodes and stuff to go bad. That's at least what I looked into. We could do. I know there's these new salt batteries that are supposed to have like 5,000 charge cycles, and they're really cheap, and they're recyclable. So that might be a good alternative to lithium ion.
Well, I think in order for you to really do this, what you're describing, we need to solve solid state batteries
Yeah,
because it's just that makes everything instantly more feasible.
yeah.
So why not nuclear?
Uranium can only be used once, so I just don't like that.
I mean,
Like
so
the sun
uranium,
isn't going anywhere. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I agree. Um, I guess fusion is presently out of the question, but that would just be an instant solution.
Right, right.
That's sort of what I envision is like if we fix fusion, then something like the concept you're describing is just going to come naturally. Because it'll just be a whole city based around a reactor.
Yeah, I had this idea. This is probably the most recent change to the city, but we were thinking of generating oxygen within the city using algae, and we would
Yep.
have these algae pools and all these lights shining on the algae pools, and they would take in the carbon dioxide that people exhale, and they would give off oxygen to like purify the air, and the heat from the lights would actually heat the entire Arkology in the winter, and in the summer we would just take fresh air in from the outside. So, and then you can actually brew alcohol. You can make like spirits from the dead algae. So you're getting you're getting alcohol, you're getting oxygen, and you're getting heat.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, it would be a
Yeah,
great way to refresh the air, but oxygen scrubbing technology already exists and does not require algae.
it's probably less energy too, right?
Um, yeah, I think growing algae is probably the less efficient way. But it does have the added benefit of producing all of that biomass that you were describing.
Yeah, yeah.
So, um, you're mentioning things like heat. So, do you anticipate any need for combustibles at all? Or is it all going everything electric? No gas stoves?
All
Just,
electric. Tankless water heaters also electric.
yeah.
Industry would be hopefully all electric, but they might have to. There might be certain products that require like fossil fuels and stuff. So
I'm thinking like glass manufacturing you can't do without combustibles. Like smelting. I mean, ultimately you have a massive steel infrastructure that's going to need maintenance. So you need a foundry. And you could run an arc furnace on extreme high voltage, but you know what I mean? It's not fundamentally a clean to rely somewhat on heavy industry.
Yeah, industrial is going to be a big part of the city, actually. I recently asked AI like how much square foot you need per capita for industrial, commercial, and residential. And my estimates were actually like 75% residential or like 70% residential. And they said you needed like 40% industrial or something crazy like that. I was like shocked. And I think residential was like 39 or something like that. And then 20%
Yeah,
commercial.
that's why I bring it up, is because you don't necessarily realize how massive the infrastructure is that's required to maintain the standard of living that we're describing.
Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure of that ratio, which is so important until I asked AI recently. And it said that the average industrial facility is like 2,000 square feet per employee or something like that.
That's true. Yeah, they're massive. So you'd either put the Arkology next to the industrial park, or you'd figure out how to incorporate it somehow.
Yeah, it would be incorporated. If it's like dirty industrial, we would just put it like a mile away.
Yeah. Well, it's the dirty industry that really is the problem.
Yeah.
Because you could have it off site, but then you have to ship it in. Right?
Well, it's
And
like
then,
1 mile down the road.
yeah, but a mile away, the air quality, you're talking about taking fresh air in during the summer. If you're 1 mile away from heavy industry, it's going to. I don't know if you've been to Camden, New Jersey, but it's smelly. It fucking stinks. And just because you're next to the heavy industry, it smells really bad.
Yeah, that could be an issue.
I mean, we like the air quality would just be abysmal, and you'd have these oxygen scrubbers, which would be, of course, scrubbing out carbon dioxide, but they wouldn't be removing, whatever heavy carbons and smoke and dust that would just travel in on the air and coat everything.
Yeah, we would have to be selective in what industry goes where and all of that stuff.
Well, you'd need to spend years of research on more sustainable manufacturing practices and trying to make all the industry cleaner. But I mean, ultimately, smelting pig iron is not going to get any cleaner. Like, it's nasty business.
Yeah.
So, and again, you're building out of steel. You need lots and lots and lots of steel. We're talking, what is it, 150 stories?
180.
180 stories. You're going to need, to put it lightly and in French, you're going to need a metric fuck ton of steel.
Yeah, I could calculate it actually.
Yeah, but it's a lot. So you can get away with arc furnaces, right? But a lot of this manufacturing, man, it takes a lot of electricity, like a ton.
Right.
So there's the electricity required to power all the homes, right? But what about the electricity required to power high voltage arc furnaces around the clock to make enough steel to build and power this big, massive tower?
Well, we would be buying the steel from existing companies probably for the first like 2 years at least. Maybe longer until we could get our own production facility that's like on site.
Right.
Because we buy the coils. We buy the vertical columns are extruded. We buy those separate, and then for the rest of the structure, we use the steel coils.
Steel coils. I must have missed that part.
Yeah, well, it's not explained in the movie.
Okay, well, please.
Yeah, so there's an engineering firm that I've been working with that makes a machine that takes in steel coils on one side and then it shapes it into studs and trusses. And the studs and trusses are the wall system and the floor system. And then they just connect to the vertical columns, which take the load.
I see. Okay. And is this going to have some role in like earthquake proofing as well?
Yeah, I'm not sure about earthquakes. I know that skyscrapers are better than brick. Brick is very fragile in earthquakes, but skyscrapers are actually usually much better. They fare much better because the steel can actually bend quite a bit, whereas brick will just like crack and fall apart. There's a YouTube channel that does earthquake simulations, realistic earthquake simulations, and the steel skyscrapers are always the last ones to fall down, and that usually requires like a magnitude of like 8 or 9 to fall down.
Yeah, and then there's ones in China that they have like stabilized.
Yeah, if it has like special technology and it's steel, then it's even better.
Yeah, you'd have to figure out how to stabilize it because, just the Boeing, 180 feet up or 180 stories up, just the side-to-side motion in an earthquake. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's nice and fat though, so it helps.
Nice and fat. That's how we like it.
It helps for wind too, because it's a wide structure.
Yep.
And
Okay.
then the shape of the hexagons help for wind too, because they don't have flat faces; they're more closer to a circle, so that helps with wind loads.
So, how scalable is it? Is it just like you build the one and done Arkology, you get through the blueprint and there it is, there's your tower? Or are you anticipating some kind of modular expansion in the future?
Well, we would start with one hexagon, and then we would build another hexagon, and just keep building hexagons. And that process would go on for like 5 or 10 years until the whole plan is finished.
Hexagons all the way down.
It's all just repetitive hexagons. So once you they're very simple too. So once you train people on how to build them, then like you don't need any like special management. You don't need like meetings and all this other stuff. And like every skyscraper is a little different, which I think is kind of crazy. But all of the hexagons are identical.
Wow.
So it's cool too, because on average, each hexagon blueprint is like 20 bedrooms. So you can calculate the per capita cost, you can calculate the per bedroom cost, you could calculate the per hexagon cost, and then in the software that I make the cities with, you can calculate how many hexagons are made up of the city. So you can calculate the population pretty accurately, and then you can calculate the construction costs for the whole city pretty accurately after you're done designing whatever you want to design.
So it is scalable.
Yeah, it's all modular and scalable, so we get accurate numbers for population and population density and construction costs. So when it in the movie it says 15 billion, which is actually a pretty accurate number.
Okay. I mean, I believe you. That seems legit. So, we've got the scalability. So, what would be the first step? Is there like some kind of test scale? Some sort of introductory, like a proof of concept?
There is a
Build a
10
small
bedroom
one
or a
first.
9 bedroom trapezoid is what I wanted to start with, which is half of a hexagon.
So you want to start with half a hexagon
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and just
Each hexagon is 3 stories tall, so the trapezoid is 3 stories tall. So there's three bedrooms stacked on top of each other, and then they share a communal space.
okay. So triple-decker apartment buildings.
Yeah, that's step 1. And then since the building is designed to be stackable and expand horizontally too, then you can take that trapezoid and build a hexagon. You double the size. And then you build a hexagon next to that, and a hexagon next to that, a hexagon next to that, yada, yada, yada. Just keep going. The one issue, though, is the sewer system. Like, how big do you want the sewer system to start with? Like, what capacity is the sewer system starting with? And then that's a big question mark. And then the elevators aren't done yet. I haven't finished designing the elevators, but I have started them. And because the elevators are going to be custom, they're rhombuses. The elevators slot into the triangular roof system, so it's like 2 triangles. It's a rhombus, and I forget how many square feet the elevators are, but they fit like 3 pallets. They're designed to fit, I think, no, it might be 2 pallets. They're designed to fit 2 pallets and like 10 people or something like that. So they're pretty big.
I see. Okay, so that's part of the transportation infrastructure question. Now,
Yeah. I might make them bigger too, actually. I was thinking of doing that.
so tell me about a 180-story elevator.
So there's 6 elevators every roundabout. So there's all 6-way roundabouts for the transportation infrastructure. It mentions that in the movie, that it's all 6-way roundabouts. And it mentions that there's 6 elevators at every roundabout. So 2 of those elevators are express elevators. They only stop every 12 floors. Yeah, it mentions that in the movie. That there's 2 express elevators. They stop every 12th floor. And then the other elevators stop every 3rd floor because the hexagons are 3 floors. So and then between inside the hexagons, you're taking the stairs from the 1st floor to the 2nd floor to the 3rd floor. So I have a video just based on the elevator system. And basically what you can do is by isolating the elevator shaft, you can have multiple sections be serviced by different elevators. So one elevator services like the ground floor to ground to 24. Then the next elevator does like 27 to 48. Then the next elevator does like 51 to 72 or something like that. And so you could have like 8 or 10 different elevators operating on one elevator shaft.
I see.
Yeah, you just isolate the vertical travel distance.
Wow. I guess
Yeah,
I hadn't thought of that.
The thing is though, you would have, if you're going from like the 1st floor to the 180th floor, you'd have to take an elevator up like 60 floors and then get off the elevator, then get onto another elevator, take that elevator 60 floors, get off that elevator, get onto another elevator, and take that all the way up to the 180th floor.
Yeah, it seems a small price to pay to go 180 floors in the sky. Then.
Yeah. So there's I have a video that's dedicated to the elevator system. I forget how high I go, but it's like, it might be like 120 in that video. I don't know if I go up to 180. But you kind of get how it works. There's 6 elevators in the roundabout. So you have 6 elevators to work with, 6 elevator shafts.
Right. And that is sufficient, we think.
Yeah, it should be.
Okay. So I understand that. We went over expansion. How about population?
So the population, well, we don't really have like a two-child limit, if that's what you're saying. I, I,
Um,
I suppose having like a three-child limit would be a good idea.
well, so I mean, this is how civilization began, right? You generated a surplus such that people could have free time, and the first thing that they did is start reproducing like mad. So if you generate this society where people, you mentioned the 2-day work week. I'd like to touch back on that in a moment here. But if you have people leading this lifestyle of relative luxury and ease, they're going to be reproducing rapidly. So it makes me wonder, right? Because we've
Yeah,
discussed the modularity and expandability of these hexagons, but you'd outbreed your infrastructure in a very short period of time unless something
yeah,
was done about it.
yeah. I think like a three-child limit would probably be a good idea. There is child taxes that are exponential. So the more children you have, your child taxes go up exponentially. And by the time you hit 4 or 5 kids, it's like bankrupting you. So unless you're rich, then you can get away with it. But so that prevents the universal basic income from that prevents people from having children for the universal basic income because their child taxes go up so much. And you could either have like a 3-child limit or something like that, or you could just raise child taxes even more.
Yeah, what about what happens in China where people like drown their daughters so that they can have sons and still obey the child limit?
Yeah, well, that murder is illegal. So,
Yeah, but don't you agree that
like abortion,
societally pressuring people into committing heinous acts is...
you could have like abortions of like females, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think abortion is a solution to anything, but
No, I'm saying abortion is legal in my system up to 9 weeks. So if you could get the gender before 9 weeks, and then you could make a decision based on that.
okay. Yeah, you and I are going to disagree on that, so we're just going to move on from population control.
Okay.
Uh,
The 9 weeks thing is supposed to be a compromise between.
I understand where you're coming from, and I respect the effort that was made to make a compromise with that position. However, I'm a devout Catholic, and so we can't see eye to eye on that.
Okay.
So that's one religion that we should touch on at some point. But
Yeah.
I want to touch on the 2-day work week. So you mentioned a 6-day week,
Yeah. A new calendar.
working every third day.
Yep.
So tell me about that. How does anyone get anything done if they're only working 1 out of every 3 days?
Well, right now a lot of people have like busy work, and there's a lot of unemployment, and people go to college and find there's no jobs waiting for them after they get out of college. So a lot of this busy work and a lot of these like fabricated, a lot of this fabricated employment will just like kind of dissolve. And then in order to maintain full employment, you need to lower the work week. So if you have half the population working 5 days a week, and the other half of the population like basically being unemployed, the obvious solution is your distribution of hours. So you redistribute the hours. So you could go to a 20-hour work, two 10-hour days, and you have double the jobs by going from a 40-hour work week to a 20-hour work week.
Okay, so we're talking division of labor.
Yeah, the division of labor is screwed up with a 40-hour work week because there's just not enough jobs to go around.
Okay, and I presume we're talking about UBI. So people would be working while receiving UBI.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. And how would they be getting paid? Would they be getting paid like
Bitcoin
on
Cash,
different
maybe?
scales?
Bitcoin?
Okay. So cryptocurrency. I guess
Like,
what I meant is like how are wages scaling? Like is senior management working a 20-hour work and
so
captains
there
working?
is a contract that flips the corporate hierarchies on its head, but it's not in the movie. I didn't even address it in the movie. So maybe in the sequel I'll address the redesigned corporate hierarchy. But yeah, so the new contract for corporations gives like it's called the coin, the mind, and the hand. So it's the three parts of a corporation. The coin is the shareholders, the mind is the talent, and the hand is the labor. And so like hand is hourly, the mind is per achievement. You get equity in the corporation for per achievement, and then the coin is basically stocks. And so then that redesigns corporations, and then you have a CEO that's elected. I think HR is elected too. So you elect the CEO and you elect HR.
Elected.
Yeah, and it's based on your equity. So the labor would be able to vote for the CEO, and the talent would be able to vote for the CEO, and the shareholders would also be able to vote for the CEO. And the percentage ownership for each quadrant, or for each like tertiary whatever group, is different from industry to industry. So a restaurant has more hand. Something like a movie studio would have more mind or merit. And then something that requires a lot of capital would have more coin, more shareholder. So I was thinking probably like something like a foundry would have a lot of shareholder, like because it's like $100 million for the facility or something like that.
Right. Very expensive to build a steel foundry.
Right, right.
So I dig it. I dig it. But so how collective is this whole thing? Like, is there personal property? Are you purchasing real estate in the Arkology?
Yes, you own your own real estate. Correct. The
Okay.
more real estate you own, the more property taxes you pay. It's based on square foot. So
So condominiums.
most people pay like under $100 a month for property taxes. But if you own like a large factory, you're paying like $20,000 a month for property taxes.
Okay. So I'm sensing a lot of taxation going on.
Oh, I think so. You have to pay for the UBI. The UBI is like 85% of the budget, and all of these numbers can be adjusted too. That's the whole point of the executive branch. There's no legislative branch. There's only executive, and then the executive
What could
votes.
possibly go wrong? Only an executive branch. What could
Yeah.
possibly go wrong?
Well, it's on the city level too, so it's only the building that's governed by this structure. The executive is the legislative and the executive, basically. So, what they do is they appoint people for various positions, and then they also determine changes to be made to the system, and then there's a direct democracy that votes on the changes. So the direct democracy has the veto power, which is very, very important. So every year the tax rates can change. I think it's either minus 20% to plus 20%. There's a range that the tax rates can change. It used to be 10%. I changed it to 20. But that's the maximum. So like you can only change your property taxes plus 20% per year. And that's if the direct democracy approves too. So I mean 10% might be better. I don't know. I switched it to 20 just for like more flexibility. I think 10% might be a better number. But now that I think about it, But yeah, I think the taxation. So the taxation rate is like $1,200 a month per capita, something like that. Total taxation. It's if you do the math for the United States, I think the United States is more than that. And you don't get any UBI with the United States. You get a UBI with this system.
And so are you paying taxes out of the UBI?
Your UBI can pay for taxes, yeah.
Okay.
So, like things like meat and dairy are taxed pretty heavily. Things like drugs are taxed heavily. Things like children are taxed heavily. Owning a lot of property is taxed heavily. Electricity is taxed heavily. Well, if you're like using a ton of electricity, you get taxed for it. But it all depends on like who you are and your behaviors and stuff like that. So most people are probably going to have like a net income after taxes of like $600 a month. It's based on your age too. Your age is a huge part of your UBI. So it replaces Social Security. So it's every 5 years your UBI goes up $120 a month. Very simple math. And when you're like in your 70s, your UBI is like almost $2,000 a month. It's like $1,800 a month or something like that. So
Wow.
yeah, so it replaces Social Security, and it's like a sliding scale. So like some people will retire at 50, some people will retire at 60, some people will retire at 40, and like it's like or some people will move to like part time in their 50s because their UBI has increased enough. So it's like a very individual decision on when you retire instead of everyone retiring at 65, which doesn't really make any sense.
I agree. It's nonsensical to retire everyone at the same age.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean the idea that like factory workers and board chairmen both are required to retire at 65 is like, if you want to retire from sitting as the chair of some board of some company, you could retire from that at 89 if you want to. But like you're saying, a factory worker has to retire, can't retire until 65. He's going to work menial labor for 65 years. Like,
right.
So it's this industry thing that really bothers me.
What do you mean?
Because, well, you've got this city that's now not self-contained, right? It's got a massive solar field, and it's got huge infrastructure requirements, like massive industrial manufacturing plants, huge. And all of that is powered by the same solar field. So you've got to take into account the manufacture of the solar panels, the maintenance of the solar panels, replacing the solar panels, because they don't last forever, of course, you know that.
Right.
So just the infrastructure required to maintain the power infrastructure is ridiculous.
Well, I mean, solar electricity right now is like 3 to 5 cents a kilowatt hour, isn't it? It's probably dropping too with how cheap the panels have gotten. So right now, my family pays 30 cents a kilowatt hour in New York State. And the wholesale electricity that we could be getting from the solar fields is 10 times less than that, or 90% less.
Module production estimates between 10 cents and 18 cents per watt.
Yeah, well, kilowatt hour, I'm saying, is for like, so what you're paying when you pay your electric bill.
Somewhere between 4 and 8 cents.
Yeah, that's pretty cheap.
Yeah. Utility scale has a very competitive LCOE. 8 cents without tax credits. 5 cents per kilowatt hour, which includes the cost of co-located energy storage. Yeah, so it's not bad, But you also have to take into account that these prices are going to be factored into the cost of building massive new manufacturing facilities. like, like, it's not going to stay cheap, you know?
Yeah, right.
It's cheap right now because we're burning coal.
Well, it's cheap because there's no fuel source. The fuel source is free. It's the sunlight.
No, I mean the manufacturing.
Using solar, right? Why not?
You can't make solar panels with the solar panels that you're making. You have to make solar panels first. If you want to transition an entire manufacturing plant to solar, you have to manufacture an absurd number of solar panels first. Like, so the Rust-Oleum, the company?
Yeah.
So there's a Rust-Oleum plant down the street from me. And before I switched careers, I was drawing up plans for them to transition their entire manufacturing plant to solar. And, I mean, this was, God, I don't know, 1.25 megawatts?
Oh, wow, yeah.
So it's a lot of fucking solar panels.
What is that, like, is that like 5,000, I think? Something like that?
What was that?
Like 5,000, maybe? If a kilowatt is 4 panels, so that's 1,200 kilowatts, right? Times 4, that's like 5,000 panels.
Yeah, it's a lot of panels. Like, we were going to have to get the state involved. Anyway, I guess my point is, you need a lot of solar and a lot of real estate to put the solar on in order to power massive industrial manufacturing.
And then if it's cloudy in the winter, it's not really doing much anyway.
Yeah, clouds, definitely a consideration.
That's why the desert, like in like Arizona or something, would be perfect.
Yeah, Arizona, Nevada is like the best place for solar. Arizona.
And then
Yeah.
if it takes like 10% energy loss to transport it, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, you got to worry about ablation. Like, you got to build these things super fucking sturdy to stand up to like sand and wind. God, what is that fucking smell?
I think usually there's transmission losses are like 3% from what I've heard. But if you're doing long distances like that, it might be like 10 or 15%.
Yeah, something like that. So what if we hit peak oil and the world ends? Everybody just blows it up.
What do you mean? Everyone blows up the world? Why?
Well, massive economic collapse.
Oh, so they just like nuke each other?
I guess.
Well, that's what the second movie is about. I haven't written the script yet. The script is very open-ended at this point.
Well, that's what the second movie's about, he says.
Yeah.
Oh, how did I know? Oh my, I've just stumbled upon the plot of your next film. Pardon me.
Yeah, it's defending the Arkologies from like the hungry masses.
Defending them from the masses.
Yeah, the people who like live in suburbia and like have a car that they can't afford to put gas in.
And we're defending the Arkology from these hungry, needy people.
Right, uh-huh.
What? So who gets in?
It's like first come, first serve, I guess. Whoever gets in the city. The people already live there. Whoever helps build it is whoever gets to live there. Like financing, too, is a big part of it. There were a couple
it's
clips
just
on that.
the first 180,000 people who sign up.
Yeah, and you'd have to either like put money down for an apartment or get a mortgage or something like that too.
Oh, so we're banking too.
Yeah, the interest rates to construct the Arkology is like a big unknown, and it's a huge factor in how expensive the housing is going to be. If I could get like a 3% mortgage for like the whole structure, that would be a huge. 6% is like kind of sucks.
Yeah, but realistically, their whole job is to finance their version of the future.
So AI. AI slap NATO is their version of the future.
Slop NATO. I love that. I laughed out loud at that.
Yeah, that's my favorite part.
Slop NATO. Well, this is cool, man. I like all the world building, especially because it's focused on actual feasibility. I think the disconnect between you and I is population control. I mean, I think voluntary sterilization is better than abortions, but
What about like after 3 children you get a vasectomy? Is that fair?
yeah, I think there should be some kind of economic incentive. Yeah. But realistically, like, you have to have this massive child care infrastructure because people are going to abandon their children. They're not going to be able to afford their children. You know?
Why is that?
Well, it happens. It does happen. You know? Some people are really stupid with their money. They make irresponsible decisions. They take them out on their kids. Like, we're talking real scumbag shit.
Like going to the casino instead of buying food?
Unironically, yes. Yeah, or just drinking through your entire paycheck instead of feeding your kids. People do that.
I mean, that's a lot of alcohol.
It's not. Alcohol is expensive.
At a bar, maybe, not a liquor store. Liquor stores are cheap.
I guess. I mean, my neighbor stays drunk, and I don't know how he does it. He doesn't have any fucking money. I think you can get fucked up for like $5, although it beats me.
Yeah, if you buy cheap stuff, I think it's less than $5.
It absolutely beats me how you can get that done, but people do it. So, okay, so how about policing? Like, do you have intelligence agencies? Do you have the FBI?
Yeah. So we have this system called deputization, where people go through, I think it was like 90 hours of training or something like that, and you become a deputy. So you're allowed to carry pepper spray and handcuffs, and you can gather into evidence and make arrests if you witness a crime. And you're basically like always on call. So we would flood the system with deputies. We would have deputies like all over the place, and I think you get an extra like $240 a month on your UBI or something like that. So it's not even that expensive for the system.
So you have volunteer law enforcement.
Yeah, with training. Like people would be law enforcement as like their side gig. And then their real job would be like at a restaurant or a factory or something.
I see. Okay. Who watches the Watchers?
The court system.
Okay,
So
tell me about that.
if you abuse your deputy status, if you like beat the shit out of someone, you can get up to a year in jail.
Okay, and you've got prisons, of course.
Yeah. Uh huh.
Are they like Sweden prisons or like Venezuela prisons?
So you get like a little pod, and there's like a cafeteria and stuff like that, and then you just like they're not that nice. They're very crowded. They could be nicer. Um, but yeah, I think they're a little too crowded. We might give them a.
Stop if you don't mind.
Okay.
Although I think, frankly, especially because you're making a sequel, we should do more of these.
Oh yeah, I'll talk about the sequel real
I've found
quick.
it to be entertaining. Oh no, yeah, please, no, go ahead.
So there's this organization called the Paladins, and I have this manifesto I wrote in 2023. This is like way before the movie was even conceptualized. And the manifesto is about the United States dissolving into a syndicate called the Paladins. And it's like this like crazy manifesto with like a 75-point plan. and it like breaks into all of these separate organizations. So there's like Paladin Capital, Paladin Solar, Paladin Rail, Paladin Media, Paladin. What else is there? There's Paladin like community centers, and so basically, I'm gonna have the Paladins like defend the Arcs, and they're gonna like take over the Arcs after the United States collapses after peak oil, and I have like a base conceptualization of like the Paladins, and they're these like high tech like super soldiers, and their main weapons of choice are AI drones and secretly dosing people with LSD.
Secret acid.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. Surreptitious dosing of LSD.
that's how they fight their enemies. They make them go crazy by dosing them.
Damn. Well, it sounds like a cool little organization there. It sounds like the Enclave, like like Fallout, the Enclave. It sounds like that same shit.
Yeah, it's like it's big faction that like takes over the United States.
Yeah, that's literally what the Enclave was. Minus the power armor, I presume. No power armor?
They have like ballistic armor for I forget the exact prompt, but it was like Eastern Orthodox orange and black ballistic armor with purple highlights, and it was like Christian Gothic patterning or something like that. That was like the prompt to make the outfit.
So how far through the sequel are you?
I'm just starting. It's basically a blank slate at this point. I have no idea where I'm going to take it. I have no idea how it's going to develop and evolve and conclude.
I really want you to consider nuclear power.
If you want to start writing prompts for the sequel, I'm all about it.
What was that?
If you want to start writing some prompts for the AI, like 15-second scenes, just like
I'll think about it.
Yeah, you set up the scenario, you set up the background, you include what characters are in the scene, and then you just like give them like 2 or 3 lines, and that's basically your 15 seconds.
So let's do this. Let's do this again. And then once we've done this again with the express intention of spending the whole time talking about the sequel, stream of consciousness, instead of just touching on it at the end, because I really was mostly interested in discussing the extant movie with you. But if we really put some time into talking about the sequel, where you want to take it, I think I might feel comfortable helping you out. Or making
Yeah,
you
I don't know where I
comfortable.
want to take it right now. It's brand new. I opened it up for a sequel. I opened up my movie for a sequel like 5 days ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, there you go. So it'll be a work in progress for a while, I presume.
I said 2026, so
Yeah, yeah, so we got time. But now, no, I really wouldn't mind writing some prompts with you. That sounds fun.
absolutely.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go hop in a VC with some German friends of mine before they go to bed. And it's been a
Absolutely.
and I'd just like to thank you, Traveling Through Time. It's been good. We need to do more recorded podcasts, so it's been good to have you on the show. I, of course, am very much looking forward to hosting it some more, and we'll definitely have you on again very soon.
Okay, man. Yeah, it was a good time. I'm
You
glad
can
you liked the movie.
you can halt the recording if and when.